Ukraine's entire national identity for 2023 can be summed up with one word: counteroffensive. Conceived, planned and hyped up by Kyiv's main sponsor and patron.
My hope is, and my expectation is, you'll see that Ukraine makes significant progress on their offensive and that it generates a negotiated settlement somewhere along the line.
Hopes for Kyiv shot to the stratosphere, as Russia was promised a one-way ticket to a world of pain and humiliation.
Do you believe there's a real chance for significant Ukrainian advancements between now and the beginning of winter?
I believe that there's a chance, and we're doing everything that we can do to ensure that they have their best opportunity to be successful.
We believe that the Ukrainians will meet with success in this counteroffensive, and we will continue to support them as they seek to defend themselves against Russia's ongoing aggression.
So I'm confident that when Ukraine decides to launch new operations to liberate more land, Ukraine will be successful.
I personally think that this is going to be really quite successful, and then they're going to have to withdraw under pressure of this Ukrainian offensive, the most difficult possible tactical maneuver, and I don't think they're going to do well at that.
President Zelensky initially was eager to sing to this tune too. After all, that kept the flow of cash nice and steady, while the US and its allies burnt through their military stockpiles. Action-wise, though, Kyiv was much more timid. It was dragging, actually, delaying the counteroffensive. Zelensky clearly expected many things to go awry, but he didn't expect this. Mental gymnastics season was officially open in Ukraine. Zelensky's speechwriters were exercising in rhetoric, trying to make everything sound not as disastrous as it looked.
We wanted faster results. From that perspective, unfortunately, we did not achieve the desired results, and this is a fact.
Other officials bluffed it out, putting a positive spin on something that clearly didn't go Ukraine's way.
As for the defense of Bakhmut, we achieved our goals 10 times over. The military implemented the plan to destroy the enemy's main combat-ready force, while also enabling the training of tens of thousands of Ukrainian troops to prepare for a counterattack.
Except this main combat-ready grouping of Russia in Bakhmut was actually 90% ex-inmates with no prior military training who had received an accelerated boot camp and who eventually took Bakhmut, now Artyomovsk. But that wasn't too painful to watch for Kyiv's Western allies. Nor were Ukraine's catastrophic losses or the fact that even tactical objectives of the counteroffensive were missed. It was gigabytes of video of burning NATO hardware that hit them too low and too hard.
Bradleys and Leopards both burn really well, just as we expected them to.
The most respected Western outlets dropped their rose-tinted glasses, admitting that a Russian defeat is not a given. While Zelensky painted a picture of unity, of the world orbiting around Ukraine, reality couldn't be further away. Russia bonded with Asia like never before, increased its foothold in Africa, and the EU saw ideological cracks spidering across the bloc, all because of Ukraine.
We do not believe that military support should be provided because we can hardly defend our own country anymore.
I was not surprised at all when I saw that Zelensky's video message at the meeting of the European Council was met without any interest. Times are really changing. Until recently, he was greeted everywhere with applause, and now he's not allowed to speak in some chambers of the highest legislative bodies, as it was recently in the United States. At the EU session to discuss Ukraine, I felt terribly tired. It is true that Ukraine is corrupt at all levels, as former European Commission President Jean-Claude Juncker said. But talking about it publicly is considered politically incorrect. It is true that Ukraine's autumn counteroffensive failed. But again, it is politically incorrect to say this. The EU blindly copies the policy of the Biden administration, and instead of offering some solutions, continues to give Kyiv money and weapons. But it is to no avail. The war has reached a dead end.
What was the strategy of the West in that war? I simplify a little bit, but this is the fact. Our strategy was that the Ukrainians will fight and will win on the front line. The Russians will lose on the front line. And that lose will create a change in Moscow. There will be a new leadership, and we can negotiate. Putin is a world crimer, crime maker, whatever. And the new leadership will be acceptable as partner for negotiation to the European Union. That was the strategy. We finance, the Ukrainians fight and die. Where we are now, it's obvious that the Ukrainians will not win on the front line. There is no solution on the battleground. Russians will not lose. There will be no political change in Moscow. This is the reality.
Poland, one of Ukraine's staunchest allies, pulled the plug on arms shipments to its neighbor. The US saw itself bickering and failed to greenlight more aid to Kyiv.
This is the town of Kremenaya, and we personally have been shown documents that purported to reveal Ukraine's plans to retake this town by the end of 2023. Now, while we personally couldn't verify the authenticity of these documents, the very fact that the Ukrainian command had deployed one of its most elite, bloodthirsty and notorious troops, the Azov neo-Nazi battalion, just outside this town, it kind of confirms these claims. And, well, in fact, Ukraine had lost a bunch of positions on this front. And the town itself is, well, it's still firmly under the control of the Russian troops. We are still here. And the bangs that you might hear in the background, that's the Russian artillery at work supporting yet another assault.
Ukraine now is seeking to round up whoever is left in the country and dispatch them to the front line, even the handicapped, and then convince the West that an army of women, dwarfs and people missing limbs will be able to pull off something its NATO-trained conscripts couldn't. Oleg Zhdanov, RT.